This NFL Week 11 pregame edition of the Propcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign our promo code MACHINE to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
And taking a shot to ground downfield. He makes the catch, and he gets in for the touchdown. The catch is made by Calvin Ridley.
Wilson, what as he throws deep downfield. It's going to be caught by
Welcome, everyone, to the Propcast pregame show for NFL Week 11. Exciting slate here on the NFL Week 11 card. A lot of stuff I like this week. I haven't felt this confident in my props in quite a while. Or at least as many as I like this week, I should say, for this NFL Week 11 card. So excited to get into it with everybody here. But joining me, of course, here on the NFL Week 11 pregame show, as usual, guys know him as the voice of the NBA Gambling Podcast and, of course, the MLB Gambling Podcast. I got my guy here with me. It's Lonte Smith. Lonte, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Munaf, what's up, man? I'm doing good. I'm glad you're excited. I didn't have a ton side and total wise, but a decent amount of props. I think it's about an average prop betting weekend for me. But yeah, man, I'm glad you can carry the show. Then I don't feel as strongly as you do about some of these, but you know we're gonna try to get some winners out.
Yeah, as far as side and totals, there was a couple games that I did like. I can mention those as well as we kind of go along here. But yeah, I feel like pretty good about either it's going to be a great day with props, the amount that I do like, or it's going to turn out to be a bad week. So take that for what it's worth here. But nonetheless, I'll still continue to give out the props that I really do like for this week. Case in point, Thursday Night Football. I really like Terry McLaurin over 4.5 receptions, but we saw how that turned out in that game where he only had 2 targets for 1 reception for 10 yards. So hopefully it doesn't translate into that. But you guys know how we do it here. Me and Lonte will go through every single game here on the Sunday card, and then we'll put together our anytime touchdown parlay for this week as well. And then hopefully by the time we're done, you'll have a short transition over to Sean and Kramer for their NFL Week 11 pregame show. So definitely excited for it. And Lonte, let's just dive right into it here, man. First game on the schedule here. I think this is the biggest spread we've had all season. In fact, I'm pretty confident it's been the biggest spread we've had all season. Yeah. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they are in the Motor City to take on the Detroit Lions. Lions laying 2 touchdowns in this game, -14. It looks like it's even more on the move here. Total of 47.5 here, Lonte. Any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, love Jameson Williams, man. Any way you can get him. His receiving prop, I think, is like kind of juiced out. So if you want to just bet like 50 plus, I think you can get somewhere around plus money on that. I like that. But one of my favorite ones is -115. It's going to be over 21.5, longest reception.
Yep,
he's over in 5 of 7. Jacksonville, third highest completion rate of 20 plus yards. So they're allowing a ton of deep passes. They're also last in pass defense DVOA. They play a ton of man coverage, which is pretty. I don't know if you want to play man coverage against a Ben Johnson-led offensive group. The only caveat to like playing in these big totals is you don't really know, if they're going to treat it like just like a scrimmage, just like run the ball or get up, 14 and kind of run the ball and get out of there. So I'm hoping that we can get this early on. But obviously, one catch can do this. And I think Jameson Williams is more than capable of doing that. I think I read this off last week. 16 pass catches have gone over 27 as their longest reception. I had Justin Jefferson last week. He didn't get there, but yeah. Oliver and Hawkinson both got there. So 10 wide receivers out of those 16 pass catchers were over 27. So I like Jameson Williams. If you want to ladder his receiving yards up, I just don't lay the juice. I would just go 50 plus because I think it's a better chance of him getting 50 plus versus like him landing like 44 or 45, whatever the case may be. So I like Jameson Williams over 21.5 longest reception.
Yeah, 100% there with you. This is one of the ones I was looking out for this week. Popped up late, but again, longest reception for Jameson Williams over 21.5 yards. He's done it, we know, throughout his career, but in this season in particular, there are 3 home games, long reception of 52, 50, and 70 So he's had at least a 50-yard reception in all 3 home games this season. Did have a 23-yard reception last week against the Houston Texans on the road, 37 against Dallas. Let's see, what else did he have? And those have, and again, keep in mind, those are all indoor games, right? We talked about on the Propcast before the season started how the Detroit Lions have, I think, 14 of their 17 games are indoors this season. So I think that continues here. I think the offense is going to be on full display this week. I also like Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush attempt, 16.5 yards in this game. The Jacksonville Jaguars rush defense over the last 3 weeks in particular has not been very good. And it just seems like that even when you think that Jahmyr Gibbs has reached his highest speed level, it seems like he's unlocking another level when he's turning those corners there for this team. But just in particular, the last 3 weeks, just giving up the yardage on the ground, 148 to the Packers, 168 to Saquon and the Eagles, and then last week 144 to Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, and Ty Chandler. But again, we've seen this multiple times throughout this season from Jahmyr Gibbs on his longest rush attempt to go over this number of 16.5. I'm trying to see if I can pull up the exact numbers there for him, but let me see if I can get them. And I'll throw out one more, and these are all order in confidence. I like Jared Goff passing yards over. Again, what Lonte mentioned, that the only caveat is that this does turn into a blowout, that there's no real reason for him to continue throwing the football down the field. But this could be a game where the offense just comes out in the first half and just Jaguars in the face. Was able to pull up Jahmyr Gibbs' longest rush attempt numbers thus far this season. Only 2 games where he hasn't gone over 16.5. That was week 1 against the Rams, and then against the Dallas Cowboys, where he had a long rush attempt of 15. So yeah, love Jahmyr Gibbs on that. And then Jared Goff, like I mentioned, over on his rushing yards. The number's now up to 227.5 and opened up at 221.5. Was around 223.5 for most of the week, but now up to 227.5. But those are the ones order in confidence. Jameson Williams first, Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Jared Goff in this game here. So hopefully they do smash the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, spend a good time on that game. I had the most props in that game. So we'll move it along here to the Green Bay Packers. They are in Chicago to take on the Bears. Packers are catching 6 points in this game with a total of 40.5 here, Lonte. Anything you like for Packers Bears?
Yeah, I wanted to go with Josh Jacobs' rush attempts, but it's kind of got away from me from earlier whenever it first posted. I still like his yards to kind of go over. If you want to package that with the rush receiving, I think that's a good look as well. But like it's kind of got away from me. I think he'll have 20 plus rush attempts with how bad the Chicago front is. They're elite in the secondary, so they're 30th rush defense DVOA. So you can run on them. And I think Green Bay would love to just run the ball, maybe some short stuff. So I can kind of see Jacobs being implemented a bit more in the game plan. But on the other side, it's hard to trust anything with Chicago with the way, the reports have been coming out about they don't believe in Caleb. They don't believe in the coach. I don't really know what to expect. I'm just going to go with what I think is probably the best matchup wise. DeAndre Swift over 86.5 rush receiving yards. That's minus 15. He's over in 4 of his last 6. He's averaging around 82 in 5 of his last 6. Green Bay rush defense is pretty weak. It has a 90-plus yard rusher allowed in 5 of their 9 games. Dual threat backs do give them a little bit of trouble. So I think DeAndre Swift maybe can kind of get out in space. We want to run the ball. Don't want to put Caleb in harm's way behind that bad offensive line. So, I like DeAndre Swift over 85.5 rush receiving yards.
Yeah, I can talk you off. Packers, at least over the last – you can go all the way back to week 4. Just have not been very good against the run. And also they give up some type of yardage through the air as well to those running backs. Just over the last 2 weeks, 28 to the Jaguars backfield there. And then last week, Jahmyr Gibbs and not last week, the week prior, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery combined to have 34 receiving yards in there. So hopefully he does have a big week here for the Bears there. All right, next game on the schedule, one of the games of the week, we got the Baltimore Ravens. They are in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Steelers catching 3 points in this game. Looks like it may be on the move to 3.5. Total is at 48 in this game here. Lonte, you like anything for Ravens Steelers?
Man, interesting game here. I think that Pittsburgh, they don't want to throw the ball, but that's the path to victory for whenever you're trying to beat Baltimore because of that secondary. Now, I mean, Russ can throw the ball, but are they like, it's not in Tomlin's nature to drop back, 35, 40 times to beat somebody. I think they have the highest rush rate in the NFL. I think they're around like 57% rush rate. But the Ravens are really good against the rush. They're allowing the second fewest rushing yards, but second most receiving yards to running back. So that's what I'm going to attack. I'm going to go Najee Harris over 9.5 receiving yards. He's over in 5 of his last 7. He's averaging 19 receiving yards in his career versus Baltimore. And like I said, the Steelers are really good against the run, not so good against running back passes or running back catches. If you look at some of the backs that have played them, you look at Chase Brown, he had 62, Javonte Williams 42, Rachaad White 71, Eckler 47, and Zach Moss 28. So those are all receiving yards by back. So I think Najee Harris, I mean, one screen, 2 screens. He's been on the field a little bit more than Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren's actually banged up, so I'm not sure how much we'll see of him. Now, obviously, Cordell Patterson is kind of the short yardage back, but I think Najee will see a lot of the work. He's probably see 80, 85% of the snap share here. So I think Najee can catch a pass or 2 and get over 9.5 yards.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off of that. I do like Russell Wilson over on his passing yards in this game, right? What you mentioned, that the Baltimore Ravens rush defense has been one of the best, if not the best, in the entire NFL thus far this season. They haven't allowed a rusher to have more than, I think it was like 55 yards was a number, I believe. But just an absolutely fantastic job. But I think that is going to have to be on the shoulders of Russell Wilson in this game. This number was around 229.5. Yesterday, it's up to 231.5. Still love it. I know there's just only been, again, a very small sample for Russell Wilson this season, but 2 of the 3 games he has gone over this projection. He had against the 2 New York teams, 278, 264 last week. A little bit of a down week, 195, but did have 3 passing touchdowns in this game, in that game, I should say. And then you also take a look at what quarterbacks have done against the Ravens thus far this season as far as yardage. Every single quarterback, except for 2, have not gone over this projection. One was Josh Allen back in week 4. And then a couple weeks ago, Bo Nix threw for only 223, but I'm pretty sure he got over that projection for himself in that game. So I would say that only one quarterback hasn't gone over his projection, which would be Josh Allen back in week 4. So yeah, Russell Wilson in this game was a little bit hesitant, like you mentioned, about him dropping back maybe 29.5, 30.5 times in this game. But I think the yardage is definitely going to be there. And we know he throws a deep ball, a very nice a deep ball. So I was trying to get to one of these receivers to have the longest reception. Not sure if it's George Pickens. That number has kind of gotten away at 27.5 now. I'll maybe look at Darnell Washington of the tight end, 8.5. If you want to look at Pat Freiermuth, 15.5 there as well. I think those are a couple guys.
Yeah. Calvin Austin too.
Yeah, Calvin Austin. I was on him last week. I got burned by, I think it was a hook or a 1 yard last week from him. But again, maybe this might be the week that he gets over Mike Williams as well. He did have that one touchdown last week that clinched the game for the Pittsburgh Steelers there, but definitely will be on Russell Wilson and have bet Russell Wilson over on his passing yards for this game. You got anything else for this game?
No, I don't.
Yeah, you quickly, you mentioned the receiving yards there. I 100% agree with that. I was waiting for the Jalen Warren number, but again, he is banged up. He is expected to play here, but I'm not sure how effective he is going to be in this game. So I'll tell you on the Najee one for sure. All right, next game on the board, we'll go over to the Minnesota Vikings. They are in Tennessee to take on the Titans. Titans catching 6 points in this game with a total of 40. One of my favorite player props of the week is in this game here. I mean, I'll kick it off from there. I love Calvin Ridley over 55.5 receiving yards in this game. I believe that number's down up to, I want to say it was at 57, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check here. Calvin Ridley's up to 58.5 now, so I still love it. This kind of goes back to when they traded away DeAndre Hopkins 3 weeks ago to the Kansas City Chiefs. Since then, Calvin Ridley has become the clear number 1 for this Tennessee Titans offense, and he's at least 70 receiving yards in all 3 of those games. 143 against the Lions, 73 against the Patriots. He had 84 against the Chargers there as well. And also, he's had the 5th most targets in the entire NFL over the last 3 weeks. And those other 4 receivers were Travis Kelce, Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase. I forgot who the fourth guy was. I was in front of him, but love this one this week. I love this up to 70. If you want to allow it, it's up to 100. We talk about Minnesota, Lonte, that they're kind of in the same neighborhood of what the Ravens have been able to do against the running back position, which has really been shut down against the running game. They're only allowing close to 71 rushing yards per game, but it's really where that secondary is getting into trouble for the Minnesota Vikings. They're allowing 253 passing yards per game, but I think that this is a good opportunity here for Calvin Ridley, catching 6 points at home. So at some point, they're expecting them to be down in this game, but I do think that he continues to get the targets here. Love this. If you want to ladder this one up to 70 plus, 80 plus, 90 plus, 100 plus for Calvin Ridley, I couldn't talk you off.
Yeah, Minnesota's allowed 100-yard receiver in 4 of the last 6 games. So that's, I think that's to your hip. I like Sam Darnold under 239.5 passing yards. He had 72 attempts in his last 2 games, most of any 2-game span this year. And I think we saw what O'Connell did in the second half. He kind of took the ball out of his hands, didn't want him to throw the ball. He's got 5 INTs in that span as well. And this is against bottom-tier secondaries, and now he's going against an elite pass defense of the Titans. They're first in passing yards allowed, under 160 a game. So I think they'll take the ball out of Donald's hands. Maybe some short stuff, like quick stuff to Jefferson, quick stuff to Hawkinson. But I expect to see a lot of Aaron Jones, a lot of Cam Akers out of the backfield. So I don't think he passes enough to get close to this. I think he probably caps out about 215, 220, just not putting the ball in harm's way. And if it does get out of hand, I mean, I kind of can see Minnesota scoring a defensive touchdown here with Will Levis throwing the ball. So, I like Sam Darnold under 239.5 passing yards.
I think it's a good game if you want a same game parlay both quarterbacks to throw away interception.
Definitely.
Sam Darnold looks like he's starting to regress a little bit. He's thrown an interception in every game this season. It's like against the Houston Texans back in week 3, and then a couple weeks ago against the Rams. But other than that, he's thrown an interception every game. 5 interceptions he's thrown over the last 2 games for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, we know the story with Will Levis. I'll mention this, that the Minnesota Vikings have intercepted every quarterback as well, except for one, which was back in week 7, coming off the bye week, where they did not get to Jared Goff in that game. But other than that, intercepted every single quarterback. So I think that's a good opportunity for if you want to do a same game parlay on the interceptions for each quarterback in this game. All right, let's move it along here, Lonte. Let's get over to the next game on the board. We'll go over to the Las Vegas Raiders. They are in Miami to take on the Dolphins. Dolphins currently laying 7.5 points in this game with a total of 43.5. Anything you like between the Raiders and the Dolphins?
Man, it's tough, but like Miami last week, you thought they got back on track, but Hill and Waddle didn't really do much. I think it was more the A-Chain show, right? That they didn't do much.
It's been that story. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Waddle this season.
Yeah,
he just looks like a shell of himself. And I mean, we just haven't seen those explosive plays from Tyreek Hill this season as we were used to seeing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they could break out here. You know, Vegas plays a ton of man-to-man. They're one of the worst graded secondaries in the NFL. So, I mean, maybe they're going to get right spot, but I kind of got to see it first. But I'm going to go with Alexander Mattison under 43.5 rushing yards. That's minus 115. He's under in 7 of the 9 games. Probably be more impactful through the air. They're likely to be in a negative game script here. Although they are off a bye, so they could be in it early before Miami puts it away. Miami on a short week. So I don't think – I mean, he's not been able to run the ball at all. I think we'll see a little bit more of Zamir White. So I like him under 43.5 rushing yards, minus 115. If you want to go over his receiving yards, I think that's a better way that he can impact the game.
Yeah, couldn't talk you off. I feel like this might be a big Zamir White week for the Raiders. The one I was looking at in this game here is going to be on the Dolphins side. Jonnu Smith over on his receiving yards. The number was 32.5. Let me get the updated number for you guys. That number right now is sitting at, where's Jonnu Smith? So at 32.5. This was maybe 3-4 weeks ago where Coach McDaniels came out and said that they want to get Jonnu Smith more involved in the offense. And they've been able to do that, right? I know last week, he did have 45 receiving yards, but you take it for the last 5 weeks, Lonte, he's at least 45 or more receiving yards for the Miami Dolphins offense. So the targets have been consistent. I know last week he only had 4, but prior to that, he was averaging close to 6.5 per game. But again, 45 receiving yards last week, 46 against the Buffalo Bills. He only had 20 against the Arizona Cardinals, but then the against the Colts and the Patriots, respectively, 96 and 62. So he's getting the looks, he's getting the targets, he's getting the yardage more importantly. So I do like him over 32.5 receiving yards in this game against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
Didn't have much for the Raiders side. I know Brock Bowers has been really good to me this season. But I feel like like you mentioned, I feel like this might be more of a running game or at least running backs being involved in the offense. So if you want to look at Alexander Madsen, or if you want to look at
I look at Minshew.
White.
I got Minshew to throw 2 interceptions.
I
just
couldn't talk you off of that.
Because if they get up early, if Miami gets up early, he's going to be throwing the ball. We know he's susceptible to throwing interceptions. So I just pick some money, really.
Yeah. All right. Let's move it along here to the next game on the Sunday card. Let me get back to the odd screen here. All right, we'll go over to the LA Rams. They are in Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Rams currently laying 4 points on the road here, I should say, with a total of 43. Lonte, this was one of the 2 games I didn't have a lot for either. Or actually, I don't have anything for, so I'm not going to waste any more of my breath. You got anything?
Yeah, love Matthew Stafford. I like the Rams in the spot as well. If you want to lay that number, over 1.5 touchdowns. Now this is like varying from sportsbook to sportsbook, so shop around because I see anything with a plus sign I think is good. I think I saw 115 at FanDuel if I'm not mistaken. So like anything plus 105 or higher, I think is good. He's only over in 2 of 9, but I think he has some advantages here against this New England secondary. Who, number one, they don't pressure the quarterback. They're like 25th in pressure rate. Their pass defense is 30th DVOA, and they've allowed quarterbacks to go over this number in 3 of the last 5. Now Stafford has been throwing the ball. I mean, he's had 40 plus attempts in back-to-back games. It's just that when they get to the red zone, they just can't find the end zone, especially with him throwing the ball. So I think that regresses a little bit. This is the second week of him having his offensive lineman back, so they got another week under their belt. I think he throws. If you want to take his yards as well, I don't mind that. But I think he throws for 3+ touchdowns here against a weak New England secondary.
Yeah, there's an opportunity. I think it was last week, right, where they played the Dolphins on, was it Monday night or Sunday night? I don't know.
Yeah, they played Monday. Yeah, they played Monday.
Okay, Monday night. Where he had Kyron Williams like wide open underneath. And I think that he just missed that pass there, but I think there was an opportunity there for him to get another touchdown there. But yeah, I think they should bounce back this week. Again, we know the offense for the Patriots is just very, very limited right now. They just need to surround Drake May with playmakers and wide receivers, and they just haven't been able to do that quite yet. Yeah,
Drake is good.
Drake is good. Yeah, I like him. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. You got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the Indianapolis Colts. They are in Jersey, I guess it's where MetLife Stadium is.
Yeah.
Take on the Jets. Jets also laying 4 points in this game with a total of 43.5. What are you looking at for player props in Colts Jets?
Man, I got absolutely nothing. I have no idea what to expect on the Jets side or the Colts side. I mean, the Colts dealing with a lot of quarterback. They put out one report that says Flacco's the guy for the rest of the year. Then they put out another report when they go back to Anthony Richardson saying they were just trying to get Anthony Richardson's attention, which is probably a lie. And like the Jets, I mean, what do you like? What do you expect? I don't know if they've quit. I mean, the season's over.
Yeah,
they got an old quarterback. Devontae Adams is banged up. Like maybe so. I mean, I guess you would look at Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson with the struggles of Indy in their secondary. But again, you never know with the Jets, man. So I marked this off. This is the first game I marked off my list.
So I do like both running backs in this game. Last 2 weeks for the Jets, especially on the ground, I mean, they've given it up. And teams are actually running the football against them. Their opposing teams are averaging 25 rush attempts per contest against this Jets rush defense. But just in particular, the last 4 weeks, Steelers as a combination, 33 rush attempts, 21 for Najee. Ramondre Stevenson had 20 rush attempts, Joe Mixon 24, and then last week James Conner, Trey Benson, and their other 2 running backs combined to run for 28 times in that game as well. And last week they gave up 128. 2 weeks ago, 128 against the Texans, 127 combined against the Cardinals. So it could be a big Jonathan Taylor week as well. Again, if you want to look at his rushing yards to go over or his rush attempts to go over in this game, I couldn't talk you off of that. The number for Jonathan Taylor rush attempts in this game is at 18.5, minus 130 currently over on DraftKings. Also do like Breece Hall in this game. I think we talked about this early in the season where the Colts rush defense had gone to a very, very bad start. They've positively regressed back to the mean, but teams are also still running the football against them. 27 times per game are opposing running backs running against this Colts team. So expect a lot of running in this game from both running backs, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor. So if you want to look at their rush attempts to go over in this game, I think that would be the look here for me between the Jets and the Colts there. But yeah, those were the pretty much two ones I was looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I like those. I really just don't know what to expect, bro, with either of these teams.
Honestly,
I really don't. Like, it's just, I don't know.
I think the one play that has been very consistent with Anthony Richardson starting, I think is his longest completion to go over.
Yeah.
I think there's always like one pass he has like every single week where he has started.
Yeah. I can agree with
that. That goes over his projected for his longest completion there. So
yeah. My thing with him was I thought that maybe he'd be like ultra aggressive here. I looked at his rush yards to think that he would try to be out to prove a point. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of looked at he'd like put it all on the line. So I mean, I looked there, but I mean, you just never know, bro. Like, you literally just never know with this team, and if they're going to rally behind them or what the case may be. But yeah,
his rushing yards are very, very intriguing to me at 38.5.
Yeah, I think that's kind of low.
Yeah, so there's only been 2 weeks where in the 6 games that he has played in and started, Bears and the Steelers had 24 each, but outside of that, 56 against the Texans, 37 against the Green Bay Packers, 56 against the Dolphins, and then 45 in his last start, which was against the Texans. And I'm very curious to see what his longest attempt is for Anthony Richardson, because I'm going to read off these numbers in a second here. 13.5 is his longest rush attempt number.
Yeah, I might take that.
Yeah, Lonte, he's had 13 or more in 5 of the 6 games, but some of them haven't even been close, man. 19, 21, 13, and 14 against, like I mentioned, the Bears and Steelers, but 22 against the Dolphins, 26 against the Houston Texans there. So I think that there's an opportunity for Anthony Richardson on the ground this week for sure. So I would look at both over on his rushing yards and over on his longest rush attempt to go over there as well. All right, let's get over to the Cleveland Browns. They are in New Orleans to take on the Saints in this game. Jameis Winston going back to New Orleans, looking to eat a W in this game. The Saints are currently catching 2 points in this game with a total of 44 here, Lonte. What are you looking at for Browns and Saints?
Man, I'm waiting for that, Jameis. I'm waiting for the clip to come out of his pregame speech for this game. But, I mean, honestly, I think this is a good spot for the Browns, just like overarching points. I just think that they're off that bye. They had a good win and then an ugly loss. So I think they kind of can right the ship here. One of the things I'm looking at is Alvin Kamara under 72.5 rushing yards. That should be at like minus 120. I mean, minus 115, minus 120-ish. Anything below minus 120 is fine. He's under in 5 of the last 6. He's averaging 37.6 rushing yards per game in those 5 games that he's went under. I think the lack of proven wide receivers will probably be the cause for, Cleveland to be able to stack the box. And even then, like, Cleveland's done a really good job against running back 1s and 2s. I mean, 7 of the 9 running backs are under this number. Henry and JK both went over, but they had like a big run, I think 30 plus yards for each to kind of get them over, but they had them bottled up for the most part. So I think Cleveland's rush defense is still elite. Off of the bye, not much on the outside. I mean, New Orleans lived in explosive play like last week. That's pretty much all they lived on. I don't think they'll be able to have enough time for Derek Carr to sit back there and kind of dial up things to MVS or some of those guys. I expect Cleveland to stack the box here. I don't expect Alvin Kamara to have a big day on the ground, maybe through the air, but not through the ground. So under 72.5 receiving yards for me. I mean, rushing yards, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like that. I think that the Browns, at least that rush defense, is back for this team. Jameis Winston, I think, is going to continue just airing it out. You take a look at the first 2 starts that he's made for the Cleveland Browns. Against the Ravens, 27 of 41, 334. 26 of 46 last week against the Chargers, 235. So if you want to look at his completions or his attempts to go over, I think more so would probably be there with the attempts, because I feel like they'll just continue airing it out. So I like that. I think this might be the Nick Chubb game. we are kind of waiting for where he just breaks out, has 100+ rushing yards for the offense of the Cleveland Browns. But Winston's pass attempts is at 35.5. Like I mentioned, he's at 46 plus.
Yep.
41 plus in both of the starts thus far this season. One receiver I do like for the Cleveland Browns side on his receiving yards, Cedric Tillman, to go up and over his number. I believe that number was at 55.5 as well. Looks like he's kind of became the clear number one, or at least he's getting the targets now from Jameis Winston. 58.5 is a number right now. Just trying to pull up his game log here. So since Amari Cooper trade for the Cleveland Browns, Cedric Tillman has had 80. So against the Bengals, 8 receptions, 12 targets, 81 yards. Against the Ravens, 7 receptions, 9 targets, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then last week against the Chargers, 6 receptions, 11 targets, 75 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. So like his receptions, love the yardage even more. You don't put in for anytime touchdown. I think that's a good look as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that him and Jameis kind of just have this rapport now in chemistry. So I think that continues this week inside the dome there against the New Orleans Saints there, Lonte. That's those are the two I was looking at in this game. Do you have anything else for this game?
I like David Njoku as well. I didn't have it on my sheet, but now that I'm thinking about it, New Orleans they allow the 8th most receiving yards to tight ends. I think Jameis will be up, and Njoku has actually been like trending down a little bit, like because of Jameis like airing it out and not throwing it across the middle. So I think he'll have some opportunities across the middle against those linebackers to get there. I don't see a number, but I'll get that like later in the show. But I like him to score touchdown as well.
Are you looking for his receiving yards?
Yeah, what is it, like 48?
48.5.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that over. I think you can have 50.
All right, let's move it along here. Next game on the board, we'll get it over to the 4:00 window now. NFC West battle between the Seattle Seahawks. They are in the Bay Area to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Niners currently laying 6 points in this game here at home with a total of 48.5. Lonte, anything for Seahawks and Niners?
Just one of my favorite ones. Kenneth Walker over 25.5 receiving yards, minus 15. 49ers allowing the 9th most receiving yards to running backs. I think their linebackers are really good at taking away the middle of the field, so tight ends don't really do much against them. And Seattle, I think Noah Fant is out, so they're going to be relying a lot on like the second and third tight ends. I think that leaves a lot of targets for Kenneth Walker. I mean, he's had 37 in the earlier meeting, 8 receptions on 8 targets, so he saw a ton of volume. 25.5, I think, is a little bit short. I think he can get 35, 40 plus here.
Yeah, I couldn't talk you off of that. I do think that they get DK Metcalf back this week as well.
Yep.
My one favorite play, this will be the square play of the week. Christian McCaffrey over on his rushing yards. I know last week he only had, I believe, 39 on 13 attempts, but you just take a look at the history that he has against this Seattle Seahawks rush defense. It's not pretty. And again, you could say that those were historical numbers for CMC, but that rush defense has stayed and continue to stay bad for this Seattle Seahawks team. But 3 games that he's faced against the Seahawks as a player for the San Francisco 49ers. I'll quickly just read these numbers off. 26 attempts, 108 rushing yards, 19 attempts, 114 rushing yards, and 16 attempts, 145, I should say. In his career alone, he's averaging 6 yards per carry against the Seattle Seahawks, and they have been one of the poorer rush defenses this season. They're allowing 5.05 yards per carry, 123 yards on the ground. Last week, they did a really good job, or I should say the week prior, because they were on a bye week last week, week 9, against Kyren Williams. They did a really good job limiting him to 22 for 69. But prior to that, James Cook, 17 for 111. Bijan, 21, 103. Isaac Garindo for the 49ers, 10 attempts, 99 yards. Tarn Tracy Jr., 18 for 129. So those type of running backs, and again, those are great running backs as well. But when we're talking about CMC, this guy's on a class of his own. Couldn't talk you off of the receiving yards. I know Japan is asking about that. We saw last week 6 receptions, 68 receiving yards. Yeah. So I think that at combo at 126, I mean, honestly, I think he can get this on the rushing yards alone. But if you want to tack on just the combo rushing and receiving for him, I would 100% co-sign that play here, because I think he'll be also continue to be involved in that passing game for the San Francisco 49ers. I wanted to get there with George Kittle as well here, Lonte. I know he was on the injury report, I believe, with a shoulder injury, but he's also had a lot of success against the Seahawks, in particular scoring touchdowns, but also receiving yards. But just a little bit hesitant, number one, because of the injury. And I think that number may just be a little bit inflated now for George Kittle. I'm trying to pull up the most updated number for him. That number is sitting at, let's see here, where is George Kittle? They don't even have it listed yet because they're just kind of waiting for him.
Yeah,
but
probably
yeah,
won't be listed until halfway through the 1 o'clock games.
Well, Casey's saying that Kittle's unlikely to play in this game, so I think that just gives even more opportunity for
Kyle Juszczyk, first touchdown scorer. I'm pretty sure Sean and Ryan to talk about that.
Yeah, we had Juszczyk when me and Chris did the show for anytime touchdown. I think it was that game against Seattle because he had scored. I think it was late in the fourth quarter. Likes Ricky Pearsall. He had a big game last week. He had that big catch.
I like him too.
Talk you off of that. Yeah,
I like him too.
For him in this game. So if Kittle is more than unlikely not going to play, I think that just opens up opportunities for some of these other guys. Yeah. Anything else you like for Seahawks Niners?
No, I know some sharp people who like Ricky's ladders, like 60 plus, 70 plus. So yeah, I'm agreeing with that as well.
All right, let's get over to the Falcons and the Denver Broncos. Currently, the Denver Broncos are a 2.5-point favorite in this game. Down to 1.5 now. I'm sorry, updated number 1.5. Total of 45 in this game here. Lonte, anything for Falcons Broncos?
Man, this is one of the sneakier, better games I think of this on the slate. But I like Bo Nix over 246.5 passing plus rushing yards. Atlanta's 24th in pass defense DVOA, 29th in pressure rate. They play a ton of zone. I think Bo Nix he's been elite at zone coverage since he was in college. Post Auburn, I would say. But like they're going to sit in heavy zone schemes. Sean Payton's going to draw up the stuff underneath. I think you're going to see a lot of targets to the tight ends, a lot of targets to the backs. He's over this number in 2 of his last 3. He's at 35 plus rushing yards in 3 of his last 5. I think this sets up, obviously, Knicks. They don't want to put Knicks, they don't want to put the game in his hands per se. But I think with a coverage scheme and defense like this that doesn't get pressure, it's going to sit back in the zone. I think he can slice and dice them up. So give me over 246.5 passing plus rushing yards, minus 115. And Denver, they struggle with pass catching backs. So I looked at Bijan's receiving yards. It's kind of got too juiced out. So I kind of passed on it. I don't know if you got anything on it.
I agree about Bo Nix because I did play the over on his passing yards in this game. Just in particular is last 3 weeks for quarterbacks against the Falcons. They've had a lot of success. But Baker Mayfield had 330 passing yards, 248 133, and Cooper Rush had 115 in that game against the Falcons a few weeks back. Those 2 guys combined for 248, and last week even Derek Carr threw for 269. And since week 5, so that's been 5 straight weeks for quarterbacks against the Falcons. At least 2 passing yards they've allowed to that quarterback position. So if you also want to take Bo Nix over on his passing touchdowns in this game, I think that you get a very nice plus price on that for Bo Nix at plus 130 over on DraftKings. Speaking of Courtland Sutton, I don't know if I've said something to piss him off but I have him on my fantasy teams. I've been an advocate of Courtland Sutton. I've taken his season-long player props overs every single season, but I had him over on his receiving yards in that game against the Saints a few weeks back on Thursday Night Football. Didn't have any targets in that game or any receptions, but since then, 100 against the Panthers, 122 against the Ravens, and then last week 70 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I know Casey's pointing out his receiving yards in this game.
Yeah,
couldn't talk you off. You want to take his receptions over. You want to take his receiving yards over. The number currently over on DraftKings for Courtland Sutton is sitting at let's see here. The number is 57.5 in this game here. So wouldn't be able to talk you off of that. But those are the 2 I was looking at. Yeah, the 2 I was looking at this week. Number 1, Bo Nix over passing yards, and if you want to take a look at Courtland Sutton as well, over 57.5 receiving yards. You got anything else for this game?
No, that's a good call, though. That's a great call, actually.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule, the last game of the 4 o'clock window. we've got the game of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs, they are in Buffalo to take on the Bills. Bills laying 2.5 points here at home with a total of 46.5 here, Lonte. Anything for Chiefs, Bills?
Yeah, man. Two props on the same, basically the same narrative. I would say, I like Josh Allen over 37 rushing yards -15. I like Mahomes over 21 rush yards minus 15 as well. I mean, just it's pretty simple. In big games, they run more. I mean, Josh Allen hasn't been running as much this year, but in big games, which I think this is considered a big game for Buffalo and Kansas City for that. Well, I guess more so for Buffalo than Kansas City because they kind of want to prove that they can, stand toe to toe with Mahomes and the Chiefs, but. Let's just start with Josh Allen. I mean, he's averaging 41 in his career in the regular season versus Kansas City. In the playoffs, which is obviously much more higher standards, 76 rushing yards. He's got 7+ attempts in all 3 of those games as well. I think he'll be able to run here. Lack of weapons. I know Cooper's banged up. He's only dealing with Shakir. Kincaid is out, so I expect a lot of Dawson Knox as well. But I think we see Josh Allen run the ball 10, 12 times here. And if he gets that many attempts, I think he skies over 37. On the Mahomes side, he's averaging 31 rushing yards in the playoffs versus Buffalo, 6+ attempts in all 3 of those games. He's averaged around 37 in the regular season, almost on 6 attempts. I mean, same mindset here. I mean, he's got the weapons, but he's going to use his legs here. Buffalo's pass rush is okay. Both teams play a ton of too high safety. I think the Bills play it at the top 5 rate. Actually, both teams played at the top 5 rate, so they're going to keep everything underneath. Probably a spot. I don't think they put a spot on Mahomes, but if they don't, I think he can extend the play. We saw him extend plenty of plays this year, so I like both of those quarterbacks to go over their rushing yards.
I have sworn off Patrick Mahomes on his rushing yards because
the knees,
the knees, and I've been burned on the Super Bowl one he had a few years ago, and then the one this season against the Falcons.
Yep.
So no more Patrick Mahomes for me. Look, love the guy, love the player, gold conversation. Rushing yards I've sworn off. Bills, Josh Allen, I can get there with that for sure. We know like for the Bills, like they take this game, I guess, personally or whatever you want to call it, right? I don't know if extra motivated is the correct word, but I think Josh Allen, the attempts to go over, the rushing yards to go over, couldn't talk you off of that. I believe Dalton Kincaid is out this week.
Yeah, he is.
So I do like Dawson Knox in this game on his receiving yards to go over. The Chiefs, I've talked about this a lot on our episodes here on the pregame show, that the Chiefs have been one of the worst defenses against the tight end position. I think this was last week when you and I talked about it, that if there was going to be a tight end on the Broncos who would be able to get it, but we weren't able to get there. But Adam Troutman had 1 catch for 34 yards last week, and then Lucas Kroll, if I'm probably saying that wrong, he had 2 catches for 21 yards. So I think this could be a Dawson Knox game, at least receiving yards wise, maybe sneaky anytime touchdown play for him as well. His receiving yards for this game is sitting at, let's see, where is Dawson Knox if they have it posted? There we go. 29.5 is a number for him. So
short.
Couldn't talk you off of that. Someone mentioned Khalil Shakir. Yeah, he's been the number 1 option.
That's popular this week.
Yeah.
That's popular this week. He's going to see a lot of McDuffie, though. That's my only thing. He's going to see a lot of McDuffie. Well, I guess depending on how healthy
Coleman's out, right?
Yeah, Coleman's out. Cooper's back, but I mean, like I don't think he practiced a lot this week. So, yeah, I mean, I can kind of see Shakir having a decent, but he's going to get the number 1 receiver coverage.
That's all I pretty much had. Dawson Knox. I think Kelsey could have another big week. Feels like he's leading the league in targets over the last 3 weeks. So it seems like maybe they figured it out a little bit. With Kelsey and Mahomes, at least for this season, of course. Kind of see historically what he's done against the Bills. So he's averaging 4.9 catches per game, 7.1 targets. Last 3 head-to-head meetings, at least in the regular season, he's at 10 plus targets. He's had at least 5 receptions head-to-head in the regular season meetings in 4 straight. And he's had the number right now is sitting at 67.5, 66.5, so definitely shop around. But last 4 games, 65, 57, 108, and 83 for Travis Kelce. So take that for what it's worth for Kelce here this week. You got anything else for Chiefs Bills?
No, I just hope it's a good game, man, because it's only 3 late games. I hate when they do that, but whatever.
Yeah, I think everybody's eyes will be glued to this game anyways.
Yeah, pretty much.
At least in the afternoon. All right, Sunday night football. Cincinnati Bengals, they are taking on the Chargers this week. Currently, as it stands, the Bengals are catching 1.5 in this game against the Chargers. Total is sitting at 48.5. So one of the bigger totals of this week here as well. Lonte, anything for Bengals Chargers?
Yeah, I like Will Disley on the day, over 37.5 receiving yards. Just I know it's kind of juiced that you could shop around. I usually don't like laying that much, but I think this is a perfect spot for him. If you want to ladder him up to 40 plus, I think that's fine. Tight ends have been really successful versus Cincinnati. I mean, they're allowing the 6th most receiving yards to tight ends. Just looking at some of the guys who've had success against them, I mean, 10 for 76 and a touchdown for Njoku. Theo Johnson had 3 for 30. Kohler, who was a backup tight end for the Ravens, he had 4 for 64. Andrews 4 for 66. Ertz 5 for 38. Hooper 31. So tight ends have had extreme success against this Cincinnati team because their linebackers really just can't cover that well. So I like Disley a lot to go over this number. I laddered him up to like 60 plus, I think.
Yeah, I think I picked him up because I had Dalton Kincaid on one of my fantasy teams, so hopefully he does have a big week here.
I think he does.
The rushing defense just continues to struggle for the Bengals until they figure it out defensively. They may be in a little bit of trouble in this game, but I think this is a do or die game for the Cincinnati Bengals for any type of playoff hopes in this game. But I'll say this: over the last 2 weeks, at least, they've done a pretty good job against the running back position. Chargers, on the other hand, have been really good against opposing running backs. Chase Brown under 15.5 rush attempts in this game. The number is now probably at 14.5. I think there's only been 2 running backs that have gone over 15.5 rush attempts individually, and that was Najee Harris back in week 3 where he had 18, and then I think the other one was James Conner who had 19, but no other running backs have gone over 15.5 rush attempts against the Chargers. It's at least collectively as a running back room, yes, they have, but only individually 2 running backs in those 2 guys, in Najee Harris and James Conner, have gone over that number. So yeah, that's what I was looking at least for the Bengals side. I think you got to continue betting on Jamar Chase because the guy has been an animal. I think the numbers for the, like, at least the defensive numbers for the Chargers, Lonte, have been, they've looked good on
noisy. Yeah, they got a lot of noise in them. Yeah, they got a lot of noise in them.
And because, I mean, you take a look at the schedule of running back or quarterbacks that they have played, it's been on the easier side of things for them. But now they're going to start obviously playing Joe Burrow in this offense. So, and again, I think the total is indicative of that, right? 48.5. They haven't had a total this large all season, let alone, I think, even 45 for the Chargers this season. So, yeah, I mean, I would just continue looking at Jamar Chase, longest reception to go over, yardage to go over, anytime touchdown. He's well on his way to having another big season for the Cincinnati Bengals, and backing up a second Brinks truck now that they're gonna have to unload for Jamar Chase to keep him there with Joe Burrow. You got anything else for this game?
Yeah, I like Chase Brown receiving yards. I think Casey was talking about it in the chat before I could get to it, but. Yeah, I think that's a great call. And you mentioned the running back struggles against the defense. So I think he'll be more utilized in the passing game. I don't think they want to run the ball a ton anyway, to be honest. I think they want to get the ball to those playmakers. T. Higgins is back. So that adds another dynamic to that offense. Well, I think he's back, right? Is he back? I know they said he was good practicing.
I did see his props listed, or that was, I think, on fantasy. Hold on, let me see if.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he practiced, but like in limited capacity, and he said he was good to go, but I didn't see anything that actually officially ruled him in or out, actually. But the pass catchers have been really good against the Chargers defense. I mean, Connor had, like, if you just combine rushing receiving, 157. Hunt and Harris had 86. Hubbard had 78. I mean, I think they've been pretty good receiving the ball. out of the backfield versus running.
Yeah, nothing official quite yet. Just kind of scrolling through here to see. Yeah, nothing quite official yet. So we probably have to wait closer to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that's fine. But I think he is back though. I think he is back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, I think that I saw Shefty tweet out last night. Players with injury questions who have been deemed good to go for Sunday. T. Higgins' name is on that list, so he should be playing here tonight on Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
All right, Lonte, that is the last game of the card for the Sunday games here. Let's put together our touchdown parlay before we wrap it up here for this Week 11 pregame show. All right, who do you like to find the end zone this week?
I like Njoku. It's one of my favorite ones.
All right, David and Njoku. Let's go down to the.
Should be a decent price.
Yeah, the Browns. Yeah, plus 245 currently over on DraftKings.
Okay.
We'll go with that. George Kittle is out this week. It's either Debo. It's either I'm going with Ricky again.
Let's go with Debo, I think. Well, actually, no. Debo burned us last time.
Yeah. Or we go a different angle.
What about Jawan Jennings?
Yeah, Jennings has a good call. Let's see what's his number.
He should be pretty high, like 3-1 at least.
Plus 220.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I forgot. If Kittle's banged up, yeah. Okay. Oh, if Kittle's playing, they got to kind of, yeah, I get it.
All right, so we'll throw him in there. Where was I think somebody from you like Jameson Williams this week?
Love him.
All right, let's throw him in there. Plus 150. And let's find one more guy.
We don't got a running back? Yeah, let's get a running back.
No, yeah, we don't have a running back.
Let's get
Aaron Jones is minus 120.
Yeah, he was one of the ones I was thinking about too. What about Swift? What is Swift? Plus money?
Yeah, plus 130.
Like what is Jacobs? Jacobs probably like minus 150. I'm assuming.
He's minus 120.
Yeah, let's do Swift. I mean, it gets plus money.
All right.
If you want to do, I guess the other choice would be Swift, or if you want to do Audric Estime for Denver.
Oh yeah, let's see. What's his number?
He should be pretty hefty.
Where's the Broncos? Broncos. Plus 140.
No, that's short. That's like not short, but that's like not enough. Yeah, no. Let's go with let's go with the original. Let's go with Swift. Yeah, because Estime, I mean, I'm expecting him to have, take over the carries, but again, they got 3 other backs that get carries, and you never know, like with that. And Swift is going to get a lot of the carries.
Swift plus 130. All right, we'll go with that then. All right, so our touchdown parlay this week is going to be, let me put this on a banner. We'll go Swift. We'll go Williams. Jameson Williams. We'll go Jawan Jennings. And we'll go David Njoku. And that will get us an exact number of plus 6250. There we go. All right. So our parlay this week for anytime touchdown, we're going DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams, Jawan Jennings, and David Njoku to find the end zone. That number comes out to around plus 6250 for our touchdown parlay this week.
I think this.
All right. That is going to Propcast NFL Week 11 show in the books. About 6 minutes away from Sean and Kramer's show to go live for their pregame show, so you can refill your coffee, water, drinks, whatever it case may be for you guys get over there and join Sean and Kramer. Lonte, anything else for this week, man?
About it, man. That's about it. Hopefully we can just hit one of these touchdown parlays. I don't care if we lose every prop. Let's just hit that one. Just one, at least one.
All right. Yeah, hopefully we can get one in the coming weeks here. We've been pretty close. We've been getting like 3 out of 4. So hopefully
if you round robin them, you're doing pretty good though.
Yeah. All right, make sure you guys follow Lonte over on Twitter at XXLonteXX. You can follow me there as well at SportsNerd824. More importantly, make sure you guys subscribe to the Propcast YouTube channel and wherever you do get your Spotify and or where you should say you get your audio format on Spotify and Apple. There you go. Do us a favor there. Like, subscribe, leave a comment for us there as well. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week for the Propcast and of course the pregame show next week as well. Same time, same place. Appreciate everybody in the chat. KC, Japan was in there as well. Hurley was in there as well. So appreciate everybody tapping in with us. We'll talk to you guys next week. Good luck this Sunday. And always remember to let it ride.